Eternal bliss, a life without worries or dilemmas, a life among the stars. Alas, that was not what our Simon was experiencing, for he was still stranded in the same room that he thought would bring him salvation, a happy ending to all this misery. How could I be so stupid? He berated himself, but it was unnecessary. He long knew that he chose to remain stupid. He wanted to remain ignorant because the horrors that lay ahead were simply too much for his broken mind to accept. Time and time again, he witnessed proof that no matter how hard he tried, how much effort he put in to save what was left, he will never be a part of it. And yet, he merely brushed it aside until this moment. But no, unlike the multiple souls he had decided to have mercy on along the way, it was not as easy for himself to do. He couldn't see past the superficial and clearly view that his doom was imminent. He was too scared. Now that Catherine was gone, he could see no point in continuing forward. She was all the company he ever had and ever will have, and he was forever destined to rot in this chamber for as long as he mustered up the will to end it all. Unless there was someone else. Someone he wanted to block out of his train of thought. Himself. The second Simon had made his decision, he felt regret. At the time, it was a completely alien thought to him. The fact that his consciousness could be copied and pasted to another host. Now, as he contemplated what little options he had, and if it would even be worthwhile to pursue them, he realized that the incident at Omicron should have been his red light, his final turning point that stops him in his tracks once and for all. "How could you put me up to this, Catherine?" cried out Simon while he glanced over at what was just moments ago himself. "You tricked me. You knew this would happen and just went along with it, right?" Looking back on that conversation, Simon realized that the one he had left behind, his original self, would go through the same ordeal he had experienced at Upsilon. Only this time, there would be an utter lack of hope for him, which further deepened Simon's regrets. What Simon didn't realize now was that he was being in a way a hypocrite. Even though nobody was left to blame him, he referred to the Simon at the Ark as not being him, even though he himself was doing exactly that, abandoning his previous consciousness and leaving it for an uncertain demise. The only exception here that no matter how uncertain both of their fates were, for every second that passed, death grew closer to them, shuffling against their doors and grimly waiting for their last scream of agony to disappear into the abyss. But the abyss was not where our Simon planned to end up, at least not yet. He first had to tie some loose ends. Pathos-II, an incredible landmark, housing pioneers of all sciences, ready to embark on a new era of innovation and discovery. Now it was a barren sea, devoid of any capable souls left to tell the tale of what once was, and those who were still alive were scattered among its sites, earthbound and waiting for the sweet release of death. Filled with these grim thoughts, Simon stood up from the pilot's seat, grabbed the omnitool that was Catherine's remains, and made for the giant space gun. He climbed up the ridges, slowly but surely, struggling against his immense suit and not really caring if he fell. As long as he was concerned, if there was an afterlife, he wasn't going to hell, for he was sure that he had already done his share on Earth. 7 kilometers. Just 7 kilometers of metal to climb through. It might take him hours, it might take him days. He didn't really care. On and on he climbed, his mind a grey static, and his only goal was to reach the next step. 2 hours and a half later, his reanimated body exhausted from the exercise, he saw the exit. He glanced at the opening, seeking what lied there before he would be able to see it for himself. But it was partially obscured by a dense fog, penetrated only by the few remaining sharp rays of the sun. He continued upwards, now reaching the final part of his journey. As he hauled himself over the wide metal pipe, he stared upwards and into the sky. It was unlike anything he had ever imagined. The clouds were dark and red, almost hellish in their appearance. The sun was shrouded away behind them, with only its rays to hint of its persisting existence. There were no trees or any forms of life, only a mammoth concrete platform and a small ugly building in the far right corner. "So this is what Earth turned out to be," sighed Simon. "I wish I were still in Toronto. I wish I still had my job. I wish I never went to Dr. Munchie. I wish I were never born." Simon shrieked into the depressing sky. He knew that wishing would get him nowhere. He was never meant to survive this, and he had to accept that. In some twisted way, he envied Catherine's fate. She got to die painless and without worry, just like a switch. 1 second it's on, and the next it's off. It doesn't feel any pain, it doesn't know any better. Simon felt from the Omni tool in the pocket of his suit. He panicked for a moment when he didn't find it. Maybe he lost it on the climb. But there it was, protruding from his breast pocket, lifeless and cold, just like Catherine was right then. Simon trudged over to the far edge of the platform, overlooking the endless ocean beneath him. It looked eerily serene then, as if the monster it had kept inside it for so long had finally been vanquished. Thoughts of the horror he had encountered quickly flashed through his mind, from his awakening in Upsilon to his rest on Omega. As he mulled through all of this, he began to accept something. Whatever life he had led before is now gone, and this was his true purpose, no matter how bleak and depressing it was for him afterwards. What he had accomplished for humanity is something truly magnificent, and if he were to die slowly here alone, then so be it. This was an act of true benevolence, and it was his chance to find closure in that. And so with that, he lay down on the concrete edge with the Omni tool by his side, and gazed at the red cloudy sky. In those few moments of peace, a bright flash brightened the sky, the reflection of the sun's rays on the solar panels of the Ark. Simon didn't know it right then, but he didn't need to, for it all looked just as breathtaking. If you guys reached this point in the video, I hope that you enjoyed the story, and if you did like it, subscribe, because it motivates me to make more videos like this. Alright, see you in the next video.